But where I also work is in Southeast Asia and Australia, and we don't have that sequence at all.
Okay.
It's totally different pattern there. So you look at them and you think, oh, Neanderthals, we always think them as a bit clunky, not very intelligent, but in actual fact, their stone tools are beautiful, beautifully made. We find collagen, blood, fat, various kinds of proteins, and also all the plant remains, so starch, cellulose, and so on. So I'm Professor Chris Clarkson. I'm at Griffith University in the Australian Centre for Human Evolution in Australia. And my interest is in human evolution and the role of the way people made stone tools through time as a way of tracking migrations, understanding how people have changed their technology in response to climate change, social interaction, demography, all those kinds of things. Yeah.
What kind of change have you find? Can you briefly describe it?
Yeah, in some parts of the world you see a pretty similar kind of change, from big hand axes through to what they call prepared cores, where they're flaked to make a flake of predetermined shape that comes off the top. Nice sharp one with cutting edges. And then later on they change to like little tiny bladelets, almost like razor blades. And they're glued onto handles and used in different ways. So that's one part of the world. You see that in India, you see it in Europe and Africa and so on. But where I also work is in Southeast Asia and Australia, and we don't have that sequence at all.
Okay.
It's totally different pattern there. So different parts of the world, we see different ways of living, different tools, different technology.
And which one has been most intriguing? Like which kind of a pattern that you saw in stone tools, where like it was like you felt the moment of wow, how did they make it? So you have any such kind of experiences?
Many different places. I love comparing Neanderthal technology, so a totally different species to us, but lived side by side, to modern human technology like us. But they're both so complex. So you look at them and you think, oh, Neanderthals, we always think them as a bit clunky, not very intelligent, but in actual fact, their stone tools are beautiful, beautifully made. So that's a really lovely way of getting a bit of an insight into how intelligent this other species was and how technically competent they were. And in Australia, I love the fact that hunter-gatherers have lived there from 65,000 years ago right up to the present, but their technology is, in some of the earliest levels, is some of the most advanced in the world. They are making the first ground edge axes for like chopping trees right at the beginning, 65,000 years ago. And they were making so much ochre and grinding up food and sharpening these axes. So that was like a major discovery in Australia. Wow, we have the oldest axe technology in the world. Elsewhere, you don't see those axes till like the Neolithic 10,000 years ago, when people started farming basically. And these were hunter-gatherers. So they kind of pioneered that technology.
So do you also look at into in a multidisciplinary angle, maybe how you are saying that they were, farming technology, farming was happening. So do you look at what kind of cropping system they used to do and what kind of food chains did they have? So some kind of multidisciplinary do you bring?
We do, yeah, we do. So one of them is to look at the tools themselves, and you can look on the edges of the tools, and you can use things like biochemistry to understand what's still stuck on the edge, and you can identify that. So we find collagen, blood, fat, various kinds of proteins, and also all the plant remains, so starch, cellulose, and so on, wood fibers. So that's straight away a clue as to what people were doing. Also the resins that they used to haft onto the handles. Yep.
Correct.
And then another line of evidence that we use, of course, is dating, but another one is archaeobotany. So that gives us an insight into the plants that people were using. And for that, it's not like when you open a site and you might see bones of animals and you can straight away say, oh, that's a deer or whatever. With the archaeobotany, it's just little tiny black specks of charcoal often. And you've got to take those out very carefully, cut them open and put them under an SEM microscope and then match them to plants. And then you can say, oh, this is actually rice, or this is the seeds of a nut, or seeds of a plant, or the nut from a tree. So that's been fascinating in Australia as well. We've looked at the plants people were using right the way back to the beginning of humans there. And we see this very complex diet that we have no idea about otherwise. So we have no bones surviving, but here are these little plant fragments, and that's usually the thing no one ever talks about.
It's True.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. So where do you see all this research going? So your area, what kind of future does this research have? What can be a few things if you can describe?
Yes, well, stone tools on their own, of course, only tell us so much. So as you were saying with multidisciplinary research, it's really about putting it together with DNA, ancient DNA and modern DNA, with the fossil studies, the subsistence studies from the plants and the animals, and also looking at things like climate change from pollen cores, but also from our own sites, looking at pollen and phytoliths and isotopes. So when you have that beautiful multi-dimensional and multidisciplinary studies coming together, then you start to really see the richness of the past and the richness of the sites. And that is when we can start to really say, this is when people got here, this is what they were doing, this is why their technology is like that, this is why it might have changed. So the stone tools on their own don't tell us all of that. So we have to put it together with other things, yeah.
So, one last question that we may want to ask you. How do you think, or how can you categorize, right now, the modern human beings without any electronic gadgets that they have developed over time, or the technology that we have right now, just in the same state of the hunter-gatherers that were there, whom you are researching. So, if we compare both of them, that whom do you feel is more intelligent?
You mean us versus our ancestors who lived here?
It's true.
Well, I mean, they're such different lifestyles, but I think, all humans are intelligent. That's what I would say. We're all extremely intelligent. So hunter-gatherers had to know all the plants and animals, the seasons, how to survive droughts, how to get the materials they needed, how to survive and interact with their neighbors, particularly in conflict, or to make sure that their gene pool is, successful and so on. So they also had rich lives. And if we look at hunter-gatherers alive today, we see that they had incredibly rich social systems, mythology, ceremony, a very complex and deep relationship with the landscape. And we lack that today. We instead have our mobile phones and all of our social networking's now done through social media. So I think we're doing the same sorts of things, we're just doing it in very different ways.
So good, you're building stories about people whom we have never met or never seen. At least we can hear about them.
Yeah, that's
Thank you very
They
much.
live again, yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.